Okay, we're going to be solving quadratic equations. We've been solving them by factorizing, but today we're going to use the quadratic formula. Use the formula because sometimes the solution is not a whole number or an integer. So make some notes as normal. Once you finish, write starter. So hit pause. When you're ready, hit play again. And here's our starter. Off you go. Hit pause. When you're ready, we'll go through the solutions. Okay, let's have a look at these then. N squared plus 1. Is it always odd, always even, or sometimes odd and sometimes even? Well, when you square a number, if you square an even number, you'll always get an even number, and you add 1 makes it odd. If you square an odd number, you'll always get an odd solution, and then you add 1. So it's sometimes even, sometimes odd. But you have to prove this by giving examples. So I always say a minimum of 3 examples. So if we say if n equals 1, that means that n squared plus 1 is going to be equal to 2. If n equals 2, n squared plus 1 is going to be equal to 4 plus 1, which gives me 5. And if n equals 3, put a comma there, that means n squared plus 1 is going to equal to 3 squared is 9 plus 1, which gives me 10. So sometimes odd, sometimes even. Second one, we've got to factorize. You're all experts at these now. So remember, we're going to have our 2 brackets, double brackets, equal to 0. Because it's x squared, no coefficient there, we just have an x and an x here. Then we've got to look at that minus 14. And we've got to split it up. Factors of minus 14, that can give me 5. It's going to be, hopefully you've got 2 and 7. One of them's got to be negative. It's giving me minus 14. It's plus 5. It's going to be minus 2, because 7 minus 2 gives me plus 5. So it's going to be minus 2 plus 7. That means that either x minus 2 equals 0, or x minus 7 equals 0, which implies then that either x is equal to 2 or x is equal to, there should be a plus 7 there, x equals minus 7. There we go, good. And on the final one, change them both to standard form. So that's already in standard form, make that standard form. So you get 3.4 times 10 to the power of 5 divided by 2 times 10 squared. Do the numbers first, so 3.4 divided by 2 be 1.7 times 10 to the power of, because it's divided with take away, 5 take away 2, which gives me 3. Hopefully you got all 3 right. Rag rate it, and then we move on. Okay, so this is an extra starter today. Well, it's nice and quick. It's substitution. So I want you to solve that as quickly as you can. Now, always remember, numbers are easy when they're positive. Be careful when you've got a negative there. That's the only thing that's going to throw you. Good luck. Go. Hit pause, and when you want to see the solutions, hit play again. And the solutions then, number 1, you should have 25, 2 is minus 3, number 3 is 57, number 4 is 12, and number 5 is minus 84. Good. The only issues are going to be where you have negative numbers and they throw you. Just got to be careful how you use them. Okay, remember what we said about using brackets. So say for the final one there, it gives you minus 84. Remember, what you have is minus 3 times minus 4 squared minus 4 times minus 3 squared. Okay, so the minus in the brackets are going to turn to positive. Minus times minus, so it'd be 3 times 6, minus 3 times 16. So minus 3. Let's put an equal sign here. times 16 minus 4 times 9. And so you got minus 48 minus 36, which gives you your minus 84. So you just got to be careful with negatives. If you're going to square them, put them in brackets. Makes it a lot easier. Okay. So we're going to move on to the main topic of the day, which is solving by the quadratic formula. So you've got to pay attention because it's something brand new. Okay, Dylan, especially I want to pay attention, and Leia, stop talking at the back, and full attention. Right, so this is a general form of the equation, ax squared plus bx plus c. So the coefficient of x squared is a, the coefficient of x is b, and you've got the number c on its own. So we use this formula, x equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And this formula will solve any quadratic equation, even the ones we've been doing. But it's pointless really to solve quadratic equations that you can factorize. This one tends to be where we have decimal places. So you have questions that you need to solve. They tend to give you that in the exam. They tend to say to 2 decimal places. What I want you to do now is to copy this into your book. So everything here. And make notes on that. Okay. Remember, a is the coefficient of x squared. You have it here and here. B, coefficient of x, and then c, the number on its own. And we'll take an example. So once you've finished, you can hit pause. Once you've finished, hit play, and we'll look at an example then. So this is our first example. X squared minus 5x plus 2 equals 0. So pens down, just pay attention. So that's telling us that a, coefficient of x squared, you look at that, it's going to be 1. Because there's no number there, so it's just 1x squared. Coefficient of b, we've got to take the sign, it's minus 5. And then the coefficient of c is 2. So b equals minus 5 and c is equal to 2. So the number c is 2. So we write our formula. Always write the formula, because then you start to get to know it. It's curly x, by the way. It's equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. And it's all divided by 2a. All we have to do now is a simple substitution of the numbers into the formula. So you got minus b, but b is already a minus, so it'll be minus 5 plus or minus the square root b squared, so it's minus 5 squared, minus 4 times a is 1 times c is 2. Let's just extend that there. All divided by 2 times a. Because a is 1, it's just going to be divided by 2. So we got minus 5, which is 5, plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 4 times 2 times 1, which is 8. Okay, it's a bit excessive. All divided by 2. So that gives us then 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 8, which is 17, all divided by 2. Now there are 2 answers. When we factorize, we always get the 2 answers. So we've got the 2 answers here. One's plus and one's minus. I'm just going to carry on this side of the page here. So that's going to be equal to either 5 plus the square root of 17 divided by 2, or 5 minus the square root of 17 divided by 2. Okay, we've got a plus and minus, so we separated them out, and that's going to give us 2 answers. Where it's plus, I want you to plug those into your calculators now, and I want to make sure you can get the same answers as me. So plug them in your calculators. You should get, hopefully, 4.56 to 2 decimal places, which is what's required, or 0.44. I want everyone to plug those into their calculators and check to make sure you can get those answers. Once you've done that, hit pause, copy these notes down, and we'll have a look at another example. So a second example, similar sort of thing. We're going to use our formula, so everyone paying attention again. A equals 1, coefficient of x squared. B is equal to, in this case, it's plus 7, so just 7. And C, the number on its own, is 3. So we use our formula, curly x is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, that's a c, all over 2a. We always write it because we try and remember it. Now it's given to you in the exam, it's on the front page of the exam question sheet, but if you remember it, then there'll be no need for you to be turning the page back to have a look. So it's minus b, so minus 7, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's 7 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times times c, which is 3. Okay, good. And that's all divided by 2 times a. So it'll be 2 times 1, it's just 2. So that's going to be equal to 7, minus 7, plus or minus, because it's two different answers, the square root. 7 squared is 49, minus 4 times 1 times 3, minus 12. All divided by 2. Which is equal to minus 7 plus or minus the square root. 49 take away 12 is 37 divided by 2. If I carry on this half of the page, so that's going to be equal to minus 7 plus root 37 divided by 2, or minus 7 minus the square root of 37 divided by 2. Now, you can plug those into your calculator one at a time, and it should generate some answers for us. This time we're going to have two negative answers then. So we got, in the first instance, we're going to have minus 0.46 or minus 6.54. Again, check that you can generate those answers on your calculator. Okay, you should be able to do this as a fraction on your calculator and give you the answer straight away. Now hit pause, make some notes, and then we'll have a look at one more example. I know you're itching to get on with your own work, so one more example when you're ready. Okay, so this is our final example for today. You've got to solve. They give you a clue that they want to use the formula when they say to 2 decimal places, because then you know it's not going to factorize easily. Okay, this one's slightly different kind of equation. 2x squared minus 3x minus 4 equals 0. Slightly different because a is it's got a coefficient that's greater than 1. So x squared, the coefficient of x squared is 2, so a equals 2. B is equal to negative 3, minus 3, and C is equal to minus 4. We've got to take account with this sign in front of it. So we have x formula, curly x is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Always write the formula down over 2a. Okay, always write the formula down. There are too many people who always try and just shortcut. Okay, don't mention any names, Noah. So that's going to be minus b, so minus 3, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that'll be minus 3 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is minus 4. I'm going to put that in brackets just to make sure I don't lose my negative there. All divided by 2 times a. So it will be 2 times 2. Minus minus 3, so that's going to be plus 3, plus or minus the square root of minus 3 squared. It's going to be 9 minus, so we've got minus 4 times 2 is minus 8, times minus 4 is going to give me plus 32. Okay, all divided by 4. We've always got to be careful of the negatives. Minus and a minus there multiplies gives you 16, times 2 gives us that 32. And I extended that a bit too far, but you don't have to do that when you copy it now. And that's going to be equal to 3, oops, plus or minus the square root of 41 divided by 4. So again, let's work on this other side of the page, and that's going to give us 3 plus the square root of 41 divided by 4, or 3 minus the square root of 41 divided by 4. Plug those into your calculator and you should get 2.35. Say x is equal to 2.35, or x is equal to minus 0.85. Oops, that's an 8. Okay, so as before, make some notes. Make sure you check you can generate these answers from these two equations there. And when you're ready, write classwork and you can attempt some questions for me. Okay, so classwork for you, 4 questions to get started with. X squared plus 5x plus 2, and so on. When you're ready to have a look at the solutions, hit play again. Good. And now we can get on with some classwork, some more general. Okay, off you go. And you can have a look at the answers at the end. And there you go. Good.